Why do we keep doing this? Taking cinematic masterpieces and turning them into soulless, glossy remakes no one ever dreamed of wanting. It's like trying to repaint the Mona Lisa in neon green. Who thought that was a good idea? Let's dive into 10 remakes of classics that left us all scratching our heads. From hollow reboots to baffling reimaginings, these films will make you question, do some stories deserve to be left untouched? Let's unravel this mess. It's 1998, and director Gus Van Sant takes a gamble that has everyone scratching their heads. A shot-for-shot remake of Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 masterpiece, Psycho. Same story, same camera angles, even the same dialogue, but something's off. Imagine stepping into the Bates Motel and finding everything looks familiar, but it feels eerily hollow, like the soul of the original is just missing. Vince Vaughn takes on the role of Norman Bates, an unnerving challenge for any actor, especially under the shadow of Anthony Perkins' iconic performance. Vaughn brings his own quirks, unsettling giggles, a more overt creepiness, but instead of reinventing, it ends up feeling like a cover song that doesn't quite hit the notes. Anne Heche as Marion Crane plays it sharp, but the tension, the palpable dread of Hitchcock's classic, simply slips away. And let's not forget, Danny Elfman reimagines Bernard Herrmann's score. It's louder, more modern, yet somehow it misses the spine-chilling perfection of those original violins. Van Sant claimed this remake was an experiment, a what-if scenario. But critics and audiences alike asked, why? Why redo a film already hailed as a masterpiece? Why replicate it so closely, only to strip it of its magic? Even the notorious shower scene, an indelible part of cinematic history, feels like a pale imitation. In the end, Psycho 1998 serves as a curious case study, a reminder that some classics should remain untouched. In 2012, Total Recall returned. Bigger budget, flashier effects, but somehow missing its own identity. Gone was the playful absurdity of the original, the Schwarzenegger smirks and Mars red sands replaced with rain-soaked dystopia and brooding characters. This version aimed for sleek and serious, but at what cost? Douglas Quaid, played by Colin Farrell, embarks on the same journey. Memories erased, life in shambles, hunted by a corrupt government. The bones of the story are there, yet the execution feels oddly hollow. The charm vanished. The over-the-top one-liners scrubbed clean. Instead, we get tightly choreographed fight scenes and endless chase sequences that, while visually impressive, lack the soul of Verhoeven's 1990 original. The most glaring shift? No Mars. Instead, the conflict centers on a global rift between two territories. It's an interesting twist, but it falls flat when stacked against the original's otherworldly mystique. And let's not forget the three-breasted woman cameo, now reduced to a blink-and-you'll-miss-it nod to nostalgia, a hollow echo of what once made audiences cheer. By the time the credits roll, you're left with the nagging thought, why? It's not a bad film. It's polished, action-packed, yet forgettable. The original dared to be bold, campy, weird. This remake? It plays it safe. Total Recall 2012 feels like a beautifully wrapped gift with nothing truly exciting inside. Sometimes, bigger budgets and modern effects just can't replace a heart that's willing to embrace the strange. 2016, when Hollywood decided to reimagine one of cinema's greatest epics, only to remind us why some classics should remain untouched. The original Ben-Hur from 1959, now that was a colossus of filmmaking. 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, crafted with the kind of patience and grandeur that money just can't buy anymore. Then comes 2016's version, gleaming with CGI and modern polish, but lacking that essential soul. Remember that legendary chariot race? In '59, it took 3 months to film, with real horses, real danger, real stakes. The 2016 remake, lost in a sea of pixels and green screens, where even the dust feels digital. Jack Huston tried his best to fill Charlton Heston's legendary sandals, but some footprints are just too massive to follow. The remake spent months in a computer lab, and you can feel that difference in every single frame. This isn't just about nostalgia, it's about understanding why some movies become timeless, while others, despite all their modern tools, fade faster than footprints in desert sand. The 2016 Ben-Hur stands as a glittering reminder that sometimes the old ways, the hard ways, were the right ways. Remember Verhoeven's 1987 masterpiece? That blood-soaked, razor-sharp satire that made you laugh and squirm in equal measure? The kind of film that smuggled its message about corporate greed inside an armored suit of ultraviolence. Now flash forward to 2014, where someone at Hollywood decided to sand off all those rough edges. Gone are the commercials dripping with dark humor, the biting commentary about privatized law enforcement, that gloriously excessive violence that made its point by going way, way over the top. Instead, a sleek, sanitized PG-13 version that trades satire for sentimentality. Joel Kinnaman's Robocop looks expensive, sure, but Peter Weller's chrome-plated Avenger had something money can't buy: mechanical soul. That moment in the original, when he visits his old house, devastating. The 2014 version, just another scene in a movie full of scenes. And those action sequences, all flash, no fury. Where's the businessman getting thrown through plate glass windows? The toxic waste mutation? The ED-209 tumbling downstairs? Sometimes, just sometimes, you need an R rating to tell a truly grown-up story. This remake proved that when you try to make Robocop family-friendly, you lose the whole point of Robocop. In 1981, Dudley Moore created Pure Magic, a lovable drunk billionaire who charmed his way into America's heart with nothing but wit, warmth, and that infectious giggle. Fast forward to 2011. What have they done? Russell Brand struts onto screen with all the subtlety of a carnival barker, missing the one ingredient that made Arthur Bach work: genuine heart. The original sparkled with moments that felt like lightning in a bottle. That chemistry between Moore and John Gielgud, electric. Every scene, a masterclass in timing, delivering laughs that grew from character, not desperation. But 2011's version, it's like watching someone try to recreate a souffle with a sledgehammer. Helen Mirren steps into Gielgud's shoes as Hobson, and while she's magnificent as always, even her considerable talents can't save this remake from feeling like a cover band playing your favorite song. Slightly off-key. The original Arthur taught us that money can't buy happiness, but charm, real charm, that's priceless. Sometimes Hollywood needs to learn that not every cherished memory from the 80s needs a modern makeover. Some performances, like Moore's Arthur, should be left to sparkle in their own time, untouched, unremastered, perfect just as they are. Before we jump back in, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and join the Vintageverse community. Here we relive the golden days of timeless movies, unforgettable TV shows, and the music that shaped generations. Don't miss out, tap subscribe, and let's keep the nostalgia alive. Remember 1984? When Kevin Bacon exploded onto screen with teenage rebellion in every step, every defiant glance, every passionate plea for the right to dance, that Footloose grabbed you by the heart and never let go. Now slide to 2011, where Kenny Wormold laces up those iconic dancing shoes and something feels missing. Sure, the new version's got polish, the choreography's slicker, the production value's higher, but that electricity, that teenage spirit that made the original feel like a revolution, it's been replaced by something that feels more like a well-executed dance recital. The original captured lightning in a bottle, small-town America in the 80s, where dancing really could feel like an act of rebellion. John Lithgow's Reverend carried genuine moral weight, while Dennis Quaid in the remake just feels heavy. Even that warehouse scene, once a raw explosion of frustrated youth set to the pulse of rock and roll, becomes a carefully coordinated routine that might impress Dancing with the Stars judges, but misses the point entirely. Sometimes you just can't choreograph soul. The 2011 Footloose proves that while you can teach new steps, you can't manufacture that magic moment when music, movement, and defiance created something unforgettable. In 1976, Brian De Palma and Sissy Spacek created something visceral, a nightmare that crawled under your skin and stayed there. That prom scene, forever seared into horror fans' minds. Now flash to 2013, where Chloe Grace Moretz steps into those blood-soaked shoes and something feels sanitized. The original throbbed with teenage isolation, every moment a pressure cooker of repression ready to explode. Piper Laurie's Margaret White sent shivers down spines with religious fervor that bordered on madness. Julianne Moore in 2013, brilliant actress trapped in a script that feels like a greatest hits compilation. That iconic shower scene, once a primal scream of adolescent terror, becomes a polished music video moment. The telekinetic effects? Sure, they're bigger, shinier, more expensive, but when did more ever equal better in horror? Even the finale, drenched in CGI blood, lacks that gut-punch impact that made audiences in '76 sleep with their lights on. Sometimes, the scariest moments don't need digital enhancement. They need sweat and tears, and that indescribable alchemy that happens when performance, direction, and timing create something unforgettable. The 2013 Carrie stands as a glossy reminder that not all nightmares benefit from being remastered in high definition. Let me tell you something about the Pink Panther, the 2006 version, that is. Steve Martin gave it a go, trying to channel the bumbling genius of Inspector Clouseau, but man, something just didn't land. Peter Sellers in the original? He wasn't just playing a role, he was Clouseau. Every misstep, every ridiculous mispronunciation, it felt effortless, like the character was alive in his skin. But Martin, he felt, out of step, like he was trying too hard to force a laugh instead of letting it happen. And those jokes? Oh, those jokes. The original had this razor-sharp wit wrapped in absurdity. The remake? Slapstick overkill. Less clever, more cringe. It's like they thought louder equals funnier, and it just didn't. But the real heartbreak? That theme song. Mancini's timeless melody, synonymous with elegance and chaos, buried under a movie that didn't know how to honor it. It's like giving a Stradivarius to someone who doesn't even play the violin. There's this moment in the movie where Martin's Clouseau is fumbling around in a restaurant causing chaos left and right, but instead of that sly humor we loved, it feels like an overcooked gag. Too much seasoning, no substance. You sit there wondering, why did they even bother? It's not nostalgia, it's just noise. Imagine walking into The Wicker Man, 2006, expecting slow-burning dread. But instead, you get Nicolas Cage, wide-eyed and shouting, "Not the bees," in a way that leaves you wondering if this is horror or unintentional comedy. This reimagining of the 1973 British folk horror classic trades eerie atmosphere for sheer absurdity. Cage's Edward Malice starts as a troubled cop investigating a missing girl on a secluded island, a setup dripping with potential. But as the story unfolds, the suspense crumbles under the weight of Cage's escalating theatrics. His performance is a roller coaster of misplaced intensity, from punching women in a bear suit to screaming accusations at everyone in sight. The eerie pagan rituals of the original are still here, sort of. But instead of spine-tingling unease, they're drowned out by over-explained dialogue and baffling directorial choices. That infamous bee helmet scene, it wasn't even in the theatrical cut, yet somehow became the film's defining moment. And the ending? A clunky, chaotic attempt to replicate the original's shocking finale, but it lands with a dull thud instead of a fiery gut punch. What's left is a film that feels confused. It tries to be faithful yet modern, eerie yet explosive, and it never quite finds its footing. In the end, The Wicker Man 2006 is remembered not for its terror, but for its unintentional hilarity. A cautionary tale of what happens when remakes forget the essence of what made the original so haunting. The Day the Earth Stood Still. Now this movie, a remake of the 1951 original, definitely stirred up some controversy. While it had its moments, let's be honest, it didn't quite capture the magic of the original. One of the biggest criticisms was Keanu Reeves' portrayal of Klaatu. Now, don't get me wrong, Keanu is a fantastic actor, but his Klaatu felt different. The original Klaatu, played by Michael Rennie, had this quiet authority, this almost otherworldly presence. Reeves' Klaatu, on the other hand, was more reactive, more action-oriented. It's like they tried to inject more modern action movie tropes into the character, which kind of diluted the original's message of global unity and the fragility of our planet. Speaking of the message, the 2008 film definitely leaned heavily into environmental themes. While this was a relevant update for the modern audience, some felt it overshadowed the core message of the original, a message of global cooperation in the face of an existential threat. The original film, with its focus on Cold War tensions and the threat of nuclear annihilation, felt more universal in its appeal. It wasn't just about environmental issues, it was about humanity as a whole. So, what do you think? Did the 2008 The Day the Earth Stood Still live up to the original? Let me know in the comments below. And that's another unforgettable trip down memory lane with Vintage Verse. If you love revisiting the golden days of movies, music, and TV that shaped generations, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. There's so much more nostalgia waiting to be uncovered, and you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep the memories alive.